But as his light grew brighter, darkness grew stronger. A man walked the earth preaching love, forgiveness, and truth. But not everyone welcomed him.
What if I told you the most loving, peaceful soul in history was also one of the most brutally treated?
Yes! This is the story of Jesus Christ.
But they failed. For 2 millennia, the story of the trial and execution of Jesus of Nazareth has been told as the ultimate tragedy. But to view it only through the lens of suffering is to miss the most profound psychological and spiritual victory in human history. From the moment he was seized in the shadows of Gethsemane to his final breath on a Roman cross, every mechanism of human cruelty was deployed to shatter his resolve, his identity, and his spirit. They used physical agony, psychological isolation, legal mockery, and public humiliation. They tried to break him. They failed. The strategy of shattering, the 4 pillars of pressure. To understand the magnitude of his endurance, we must first look at the breaking program used by the religious and imperial powers of the day. It wasn't just about killing him, it was about deconstructing the man and his message. 1. The betrayal of the inner circle. The first attempt to break Jesus was relational. For a leader, there is no greater psychological blow than the desertion of those you poured your life into. Judas sold him for the price of a slave. Peter denied even knowing him 3 times. The disciples fled into the night. The goal was to make Jesus feel that his life's work was a waste, that he was entirely alone. Yet, in the face of this abandonment, Jesus didn't lash out in bitterness. He offered Peter restoration and Judas a final gesture of friendship. 2. The mockery of justice. Next came the intellectual and moral breaking. The Sanhedrin held an illegal night trial, riddled with false witnesses. They spat on him and blindfolded him, hitting him and asking, "Prophesy. Who hit you?" This was designed to strip away his dignity. If you can make a king look like a fool, you break his authority. But Jesus maintained a, quote, majestic silence. He didn't dignify the lies with the defense because his identity wasn't dependent on their verdict. 3. The physical deconstruction. Roman scourging wasn't just a beating. It was a medical trauma designed to bring the body to the edge of death. The flagrum, a whip with lead balls and bone, was meant to make the victim plead for mercy. Crucifixion itself was a masterpiece of agony. The mechanics of the cross were calculated. Asphyxiation. Every breath required pushing up on nailed feet. Nerve pain. Nails driven through the median nerves created a sensation of liquid fire. 4. The spiritual eclipse. The final attempt to break him was the silence of God. Hanging between heaven and earth, Jesus cried out, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani? My God, why have you forsaken me?" This was the moment of ultimate testing, the feeling of being severed from his very source. 2. Why they couldn't break him. If the pressure was so immense, why did it fail? The answer lies in the radical nature of his inner kingdom, the power of not my will. In Gethsemane, Jesus won the war before the first nail was driven. By praying, "Not my will, but yours be done," he surrendered his self-preservation. You cannot break a man who has already given everything away. When a person has nothing left to lose because they have voluntarily sacrificed it, the enemy loses all leverage. The weapon of forgiveness. The ultimate proof of his victory occurred on the cross when he looked down at the very men hammering the spikes and said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Cruelty usually breeds more cruelty. The goal of the Romans was to make their victims die screaming curses, bitter and broken. By choosing to love his enemies in the moment of his greatest pain, Jesus broke the cycle of vengeance. He didn't just endure the cross, he transcended it. 3. The collapse of the accusers. While Jesus remained intact, those who tried to break him began to crumble under the weight of their own actions, person/group. The attempt. The result. Judas Iscariot tried to profit from betrayal, consumed by guilt, ended his own life. Pontius Pilate tried to wash his hands of the blood, became a historical symbol of cowardice and indecision. The Sanhedrin tried to silence a heretic, only succeeded in making his message global and eternal. The Roman Empire tried to show their power through the cross, eventually fell, while the cross became the symbol of the world's largest faith. IV. The third day, the ultimate refutation. The final proof that they failed was, of course, the resurrection. Death is the ultimate breaking of the human condition. It is the final no, but the empty tomb was the yes that echoed through history. By rising, Jesus proved that the worst that man could do, death itself, was insufficient to stop him. The scars remained on his hands, but they were no longer marks of defeat. They were trophies of a war he had won. V. The legacy of the unbroken. The attempt to break Jesus didn't just fail, it backfired spectacularly. 1. He redefined power. He showed that true power isn't the ability to inflict pain, but the ability to endure it for the sake of love. 2. He provided a blueprint. For 2,000 years, martyrs and common people alike have looked to the unbroken Christ as a source of strength when their own lives feel like they are falling apart. 3. He changed the symbol. The cross, once a sign of Roman terror, became a sign of hope, healing, and victory. Conclusion: a victory of the Spirit. They used every tool in the shed of human depravity. They used the law, the whip, the nail, and the spear. They buried him in a tomb and rolled a stone in front of it. But you cannot bury the truth. You cannot crucify love. You cannot break the one who holds the universe together. They tried to break Jesus. Instead, he broke the power of death.